Gloria Allred, and you're watching Gvtv News.
Thanks, Gloria, and I'm Randy Hansen. In today's World News headlines, Indonesia rescuers find bodies and debris from Air Asia flight. And out of Greece, anti-austerity Syriza party headed for victory in early elections. In Somalia, U.S. targets al-Shabaab leader with drone strike, and U.S.-led forces launch 18 strikes against ISIS. And a report says NATO kill list targeted drug dealers, lower-level Taliban members in Afghanistan, and Snowden docs show NSA thwarted by certain kinds of encryption. Liberia sees flare-ups of Ebola along border. Scottish nurse diagnosed with Ebola. An autopsy says Ezil Ford shot by Los Angeles police 3 times. Israel military kills 17-year-old boy in the West Bank, and alumni letter calls for Israelis to boycott military service. And House Majority Whip Representative Steve Scalise spoke at White Supremacist Summit in 2002. New York GOP Representative Michael Grimm to resign in reversal of stance. And New York State Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver probed overpayments. And Chipotle apologizes for a Brooklyn workers' hands up, don't shoot gesture at police. And Vermont Yankee nuclear power plant shuts down. Gvtv News is broadcast on Grass Valley Television, division of Rural Counties Television Network, whose focus is on community involvement. We also air on NCTV. But before these stories, Gvtv News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, Gvtv News. In today's first world news story, Indonesian rescuers have found dozens of bodies and debris from a passenger plane that was carrying 162 people when it disappeared on the way to Singapore on Sunday. Remains were found in Karamida Strait off the coast of Borneo. Air Asia Flight 8501 had requested permission to climb to a higher altitude amidst bad weather, but response was delayed due to heavy air traffic and the plane disappeared. Leftists in Greece appear poised for a historic victory after lawmakers rejected the Prime Minister's nominee for president, setting the stage for early elections next month. The failed vote for president triggers the dissolution of parliament and comes amidst mounting outrage over austerity policies which have come as part of Greece's international bailout. Left-wing Syriza party is leading in the polls, paving the way for Europe's first election of an anti-bailout party bent on reversing deep cuts demanded by international lenders. Alexis Tsipras, a leader of the Syriza party and likely the next prime minister of Greece, celebrated Monday's outcome and said, "Today, my friends, is the beginning of the end of the regime that sunk the country into poverty, unemployment, grief, and desperation. Beginning of the end of those who shamelessly servants of the catastrophic policies." Tsipras has pledged to provide aid to poor and renegotiate the terms of Greece's bailout, raising the prospect of a showdown with European lenders that could renew economic uncertainty. U.S. military has carried out a drone strike in Somalia targeting senior leader of the militant group al-Shabaab. The Pentagon has said it does not believe any civilians were killed in the strike, but did not say whether the target was killed. Last week, on Christmas, al-Shabaab attacked the African Union base at Mogadishu, killing 9 people in what it said was retaliation for another U.S. drone strike which killed group's leader in September. On Saturday, another top al-Shabaab figure was also subject to $3 million U.S. bounty surrendered to authorities in Somalia. And U.S.-led forces have also continued their bombardment of Islamic State militant Muslim terrorists in 12 airstrikes in Syria and 6 in Iraq on Monday. A new report has revealed the kill list used by the U.S.-led NATO coalition in Afghanistan targeted not only high-level commanders in the Taliban, but mid- and lower-level operatives, and even drug dealers. The secret documents, at least some of them, came from National Security Agency's whistleblower Edward Snowden, spanned from 2009 to 2011, according to the German news magazine Der Spiegel, which reviewed them. They showed targets killing were not just viewed as last resort to prevent attacks, but were also in fact part of everyday life in guerrilla war in Afghanistan. In one case, a young boy was killed and his father injured, and a British helicopter pilot who targeted a suspected mid-level Taliban commander. Another round of documents from Edward Snowden published by Der Spiegel showed some encryption tactics have successfully thwarted spying by the National Security Agency. An NSA document describes catastrophic levels of difficulty penetrating the communications of users who employ a combination of different encryption technologies. Liberian officials reported a new flare-up in Ebola cases along the border of Sierra Leone. An announcement of dozens of new cases comes after Liberia reported strides in combating the virus. The news comes as the death toll in the three worst-hit countries in West Africa has topped 7,800, with more than 20,000 infected. In Britain, meanwhile, a nurse who recently returned to Scotland from Sierra Leone has been flown to London for treatment after she was diagnosed with Ebola. Pauline Cafferkey is the first person diagnosed with Ebola on British soil. The Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon said the risk of the public is minimal, and said, "I think it's very important to stress, particularly in the benefits of those watching, the risk of other people as a result of this confirmed Ebola case is deemed to be extremely low. Given the early stage of diagnosis, the patient was displaying no symptoms of the kind that would lead to onward transmission and put other people at risk before she reported this morning as being unwell." In the United States, a technician may have been exposed to Ebola at a facility run by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. The worker is under observation after handling samples which were supposed to have been deactivated. An autopsy report shows an unarmed African-American killed in Los Angeles. Police were shot 3 times. Coroner's report shows 25-year-old Ezeal Ford was shot in the right side, right arm, and the back, where an imprint of the gun muzzle was found showed that he was shot at very close range. Police allege that Ford, who suffered from mental illness, tried to grab an officer's gun during a confrontation. But his family members and at least one eyewitness say he was complying with police and lying on the ground when he was shot. Police and district attorney are conducting an investigation into the shooting, which happened in August. Ford's family has filed a civil rights lawsuit. The Israel military has shot and killed a 17-year-old boy on the West Bank. The military says soldiers opened fire on a group of people who were throwing rocks, killing a teenager identified as Imam Jamal Ahmad Duwikat. But a friend of the deceased who was injured in the attack denied the pair were throwing rocks and told the Palestinian Man news agency his friend was killed in cold blood. News comes after more than 50 alumni, former educators, and staff of the prestigious Israel Arts and Science Academy in Jerusalem have issued a call for graduates to refuse service in the Israeli military. Such service is mandatory in Israel, and those who refuse may face jail. The letter calls military refusal a moral stance against the collective mood manifested in racism and violence in every street these days. One of the top Republicans in Congress has acknowledged he spoke at a gathering of white supremacists and neo-Nazis in 2002 while he was serving as a state representative in Louisiana. Representative Steve Scalise, who serves as House Majority Whip, has confirmed reports he spoke at a convention organized by the European American Unity and Rights Organization, or EURO, founded by the former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke. Scalise told the New Orleans Times-Picayune he did not recall the conference and didn't know who all the groups were. For anyone to suggest I was involved in groups like this is insulting and ludicrous, he responded. New York Republican Representative Michael Grimm has announced he will resign after pleading guilty to felony tax evasion in his New York City fast food restaurant Health Delicious. After entering a plea last week, Grimm had said he was absolutely not going to resign, but he reportedly reversed himself after speaking with Republican House Speaker John Boehner on Monday. Probe to Grimm's finances made national headlines earlier this year when he threatened to break a local TV reporter in half and throw him over a balcony for asking him about it. The resignation of Representative Michael Grimm comes as federal authorities are reportedly investigating top Democrat in New York State over payments he received from a law firm that specialized in real estate tax reductions. According to the New York Times, New York State Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver did not disclose the payments as required. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio was booed at police graduation ceremony. This is another story. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is due to meet with police union leaders a day after he was booed from the graduates and police graduation. He faces tensions in the unions over contract negotiations. His comments of racial profiling and police brutality, including saying he feared his biracial son, Dante, as he could have problems. And he said, "Congratulations, officers. It is an honor to call you officers. You have reached this moment in your lives through hard work, and I want to congratulate you for all that you have achieved this historic day in your lives. It is a day your city thanks you." And then they booed him. Wonder why. Fast food chain Chipotle, whatever, has apologized to police officers after an employee made a hands-up, don't shoot gesture to officers who entered a restaurant in Brooklyn, New York. Since Michael Brown's shooting in Ferguson, Missouri, the hands-up gesture has become a symbol of police killings of unarmed African Americans. Chipotle's CEO said they have taken appropriate actions against the employee. One of the nation's oldest and most controversial nuclear power plants has gone offline following decades of protest against it. The Vermont Yankee plant, which ran for more than 40 years, had faced a series of radioactive titanium leaks. Its operator, Entergy, announced plans to close it last year, citing financial reasons. And that's it for World News today. Now, another thanks to one of our underwriters who support your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, Gvtv News. And Happy New Year. Soon. That's right, it's time for the police blotter. Pictures in the blotter, not from these actual events, but used for visual aid only. These public records are obtained from daily logs issued from Nevada County Law Enforcement. Grass Valley Police Department on Sunday, 12:36 p.m. A caller from 300 block of Sutton Way reported a 12-year-old boy smoking marijuana in the hallway. 4:08 p.m. a caller from Neal and Mill Street reported a man trying to sell and smoke marijuana. He was cited on unknown charges. And 5:03 p.m. a man at 300 block of Rhode Island Street reported to have been insulted but was uninjured. 7:07 p.m. a woman from 200 block of Colfax Avenue reported a person stole items from her was at a bakery. 7:30 p.m. a caller at 400 block of Henderson Street reported two men in a physical fight. It was not clear how the two reports were related or if they were. A man was arrested on suspicion of possessing a controlled substance, drug paraphernalia, and violating probation. 7:50 p.m., a caller from 100 block of West McKnight Way reported shoplifter who was cited and released. And 8:04 p.m., a caller from 100 block of Spring Hill Drive reported a man possibly sleeping in a storage unit after jumping the fence. He was told not to come back, but might return. He could not be located. 8:19 p.m., a caller from 300 block of Bennett Street reported a man and a woman in a physical fight. A man was arrested on suspicion of battery on a spouse and violating a restraining order. And 9:02 p.m., a caller from Wan Way reported sex offender had not informed neighbors he lived there. And 9:03 p.m., a caller reported the theft of a cell phone who had been tracked to the 12,000 block of Sunny Slope. Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Sunday, 10:59 a.m., a caller from 14,000 block of Otto Maryland Road reported a man making threats, yelling at a neighbor. He was arrested on an outstanding warrant. And 12:28 p.m., a caller from Robin Street reported needing help with detox. At 1:16 p.m., a caller reported a man in his underwear in front of a residence causing a disturbance. At 3:57 p.m., a caller from 10,000 block of Oak Drive reported being hit in the face but did not need medical attention. And 4:10 p.m., a man from 11,000 block of Ringtail Road reported finding tacks at the end of his driveway intended to flatten his tires. 4:24 p.m., a caller from St. Ledger Forest and Idaho Maryland Roads reported two men possibly in a physical fight. At 4:56 p.m., a woman from Pascali Road reported tires of her vehicle had been flattened while she was hiking. 4:59 p.m., a woman from 18,000 block of Jackass Flats Road reported finding a stolen vehicle. At 5:01 p.m., a caller from 10,000 block of Willow Valley Road reported people had made entry into the old Hugh building. They were advised against trespassing. 6:01 p.m., a caller from Highway 20 and Scotts Flat Road reported a driver swerving all over the road and about 30 vehicles following. And 6:03 p.m., a caller from 11,000 block of Banner Mountain Trail reported hearing about 12 shots fired after dark from the shooting range. And 8:57 p.m., a woman from 24,000 block of Oro Valley Road reported a man hit her in the head and threw her cell phone in a toilet. He said she knocked him down 2 flights of stairs. She was leaving for the night. At 9:36 p.m., a caller from 12,000 block of Willow Valley Road reported a drunken woman hit someone in the face with a flashlight and was being restrained. It was mutual combat and no charges were requested. Nevada City Police Department on Wednesday, 4:11 p.m., a caller from 700 block of Zion Street reported a very drunken person trying to get in a vehicle who threatened the caller. And on Thursday, 9:24 a.m., a caller from 500 block of Sacramento Street reported a woman being mouthing who was restrained against restraining order against her. She then left at 6:49 a.m. Friday. The caller reported the woman and a man were trying to climb in an upstairs window using a ladder. They were gone when the officer arrived. And Friday, 12:30 a.m., a caller from 200 block of Broad Street reported a man threatened people with a knife. At 2:48 p.m., a caller from Cabin Street reported being mentally tortured. 3:09 p.m., a caller from Business 100 block of New Mohawk Road reported a possible endangered cat. And Saturday, 12:34 p.m., a caller from 300 block of South Pine Street reported a burglary to a vacant rental with a sleeping bag, clothing, and food found. 1:36 p.m., a postal carrier reported being attacked by a golden retriever in the 400 block of South Pine Street. The dog was biting the carrier's satchel. 4:48 p.m., a caller from Business 200 block of Broad Street reported a woman stole UGG boots worth $200. Sunday, 1:10 p.m., a caller from Main and Church Street reported juveniles skateboarding down a hill. They were admonished. And 7:28 p.m., a caller requested a welfare check on possible elder abuse victim. 7:51 p.m., a caller from 100 block of Orchard Street reported people being beaten up. A woman was reported she had been kicked out of a house. And that's it for the blotter today. Now another thanks to one of our couple of our underwriters who support your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, Gvtv News. In today's local news headlines, allegedly drunken driver crashes into on-duty Nevada County Sheriff's patrol vehicle. And Truckee unveils renovated downtown community art center. In our first story, Grass Valley man whose blood alcohol level was estimated nearly 3 times the legal limit reportedly careened through a stop sign and broadsided an SUV being driven by an on-duty Nevada County Sheriff's deputy. William Albert Medlin, 48, has quite a history of prior DUI convictions, said California Highway Patrol Officer Greg Tassoni. He also is on probation, has a suspended license, and is supposed to be driving a vehicle with an interlock device meant to prevent anyone from driving while under the influence. Deputy, who is not being named, was in a marked Ford SUV and driving southbound on Brunswick Road, coming to a stop at the intersection of Greenhorn Road at about 5:30 p.m. Sunday. Medlin was driving a 2006 Pontiac Vibe station wagon on Greenhorn, approached the intersection at a high rate of speed. Medlin failed to stop, lost control of the vehicle, careened across the intersection at a moderately high speed, and struck a patrol vehicle broadside, Tassoni said. Both vehicles became disabled in the roadway. The deputy reportedly received minor injuries, but was able to exit his patrol vehicle and detain Medlin. Medlin appeared to be intoxicated and was detained by the deputy while CHP officers and fire department medical personnel responded to the scene. CHP officer conducted an investigation at the scene and determined Medlin was substantially impaired from alcohol, adding that a field sobriety test showed his blood level at 2.5 to 3 times the legal limit. 2 lanes of Brunswick Road and Lane East Bennett Road were blocked while emergency crews worked at the scene for approximately 1 hour. Deputy was later transported to a local hospital for evaluation treatment and is expected to make a full recovery. Medlin was uninjured. Medlin has multiple prior convictions of DUI since 2006. He reportedly was on probation, had a suspended driver's license, was driving a vehicle without a required ignition interlock device, and that had false registration. He was cleared of a medical problem and ultimately booked into Wayne Brown Correctional Facility and jail on suspicion of driving under the influence, causing injury, driving on a suspended license with priors, and violating probation use, and being held in lieu of a $105,000 bail. CHP is handling the investigation. Out of Truckee, residents can expect higher class performance in 2015 and beyond in a newly renovated downtown community arts center, officials said this week. I think it's beautiful, a huge improvement, said Dan Gorman, the recreation superintendent for the Trucker-Donner Recreation and Park District. I think we can put on a much higher quality show than in the past. Renovations in the center's auditorium include a new movie screen, including a digital projector and surround sound, replacement of all lighting with LED lighting, additions to side stage entrance, and purchase of 250 padded theater chairs and a new color scheme along with custom wall art, said Jennifer Bohm, a TDRPD employee and Performing Arts Committee member. When asked what the district hopes the community gets out of the renovations, O'Gorman said, increased access to quality entertainment, not to have to go to Reno to see a quality performance, and place for local artists to perform. As in the past, the venue can hold music performances, theater productions, and movies, but with an improved production quality. Those types of events could only happen previously if producers brought their own sound and lighting equipment, and now is no longer the case, Bohm said. Upcoming center events include 7 p.m. January 31st, Avalanche Awareness Education Presentation from Sierra Avalanche Center. 7 p.m. February 6th, First Friday Music Presentation by Dana Leong Trio, put on by Arts for the Schools and TDRPD. The modifications were completed at the end of November, O'Gorman said, and more to come. Heating and ventilation and air conditioning system is planned to be installed in the spring. The center will remain open during that week. Performing Arts Committee is also discussing whether to renovate this center's building's facade and hall and install a marquee to announce performances. Whether those modifications are pursued will depend on funding. You can visit tdrpd.com to learn more about the Community Arts Center at 1046 Church Street in Truckee.